Alright, so this is another video on using Simuquick tab, one of the core sections of Rig-GNS add-on, which is designed for creating physics for clothing and hair. So in the previous video, which you can find in the description, we looked at how to use Simuquick to create cloth physics focusing on a skirt. Now in this part, we're going to use Simuquick to create physics for hair. Currently I have Simuquick 2.1, and here you can see we are working with Rig-GNS 4.31. Now to start, I'm going to switch over to DAZ Studio, where I already have this Genesis 8 female loaded. Now in the smart content pane, in the hair section, I'm going to load this hair, and with that applied, I will simply export the file as FBX, and then of course click accept. Alright, I'll press Ctrl Z to remove the hair and load a different one. I will go with this one and then export that as well. Now returning to Blender, I will delete this cube, then import the figure. Here's the first file we exported, so I'll go ahead and click import figure. I will then rig the figure with the rigging buttons. Alright, with that done, I'll quickly switch the viewport shading to matte cap and enable textures as usual. Next, I will import an animation that we can use to preview the simulation when it's done. So I'll import it into the scene, click bind, and of course play the animation. Okay. So now I'll quickly make small adjustments to the animation. I will tilt the shoulder and also tilt the upper arm. Alright, now I'll go ahead and bake the animation. With that done, I will collapse the adjustments tab, expand the action tab. Here we have the animation. I will unassign that and then reset the rig. Now we can collapse the animixer tab and of course collapse this tab as well. So now we have the figure rigged. Next, I'll select the hair and then switch to edit mode. You can already tell this hair is quite dense. Here you can see we have a very high vertex count, around 500,000. So what I like to do at this stage is reduce the numbers of vertices to improve performance. When I make a linear selection of edges and mark those edges, you can see when I orbit around the scene, the viewport starts to lag, which is why we need to reduce the vertex count. So I will just undo the marking by clicking this button. Now to reduce the vertex count on the hair mesh, I will start with the scalp mesh here. With the mouse over it, I'll press L to select linked, then press P and choose separate by selection. To further reduce the vertex count, I'll go to select, then select random, then expand the option here, set the ratio to 0.01, press Ctrl L to select linked, and then press P and choose separate by selection. Now I'll go over to the outliner, press the period key to bring the active mesh into view. You can see this one here is the scalp here. I'll switch to object mode, select the scalp, and quickly rename it to scalp. So now we have two hair objects. We have this one, and then we have this other one. When I select this one and go to edit mode, you can see the numbers of vertices is about 160,000, which is much lower than we initially had. Now when I return to object mode, select the other one and then switch to edit mode, you can see this one has about 322,000 vertices. Now switching back to objects mode, I will select the more dense one and hide it. If you want to reduce the vertex count further, you can again switch to edit mode, select random, press Ctrl L, then press P and choose separate by selection. Now we have another hair object, and switching to edit mode, you can see this one is about 61,000 vertices and the other one is about 98,000. So I'll go with this one, the one with 98,000 verts, and I will rename it to hair main. Alright, so we're going to start marking edges on this hair. First, I will hide this other hair for now. Now I will switch to local view and start making my edge markings. I prefer to make my markings from the inside because it's closer to the collision object, which is the figure. I will begin from the front of the hair around this area. You want to create a selection that runs from the top all the way to the bottom. So I'll click Mark Edges, then move to the back of the hair. Select this by double clicking. Switch to wireframe to make sure it runs all the way from the top to bottom. I will not use this one because it curves off to the side, so I'll look for another one. Alright, this one is better. I'll mark that as well. Come over here, find something around this area and mark that. Now I will mark in between those ones I already have. I will come over here, select something around this area and mark that. I will come over here, then select something around here and mark that as well. Alright, now I'll continue marking between those markings again, and I'll speed up this process a bit. Okay, I think that is enough marking. We could add more, but this should be sufficient. Now to visualize the marking, you can select a random edge, then press Shift H to hide everything except the selected part. This allows you to clearly see the markings and you get an idea of how they are distributed. Now I'll press Alt H to reveal everything again. And with the marking complete, I'll return to Global View. Before clicking the Create Bones button, since we have already made the markings on a lower resolution version of the hair, we can join the separated hair back to the main mesh if we wish to increase the mesh density. Now to do that, I'll switch to object mode, select this hair mesh in the outliner, hold Ctrl and then select the main hair to make it the active object and press Ctrl J to join them. Now when I switch back to edit mode, you can see the vertex count is about 160,000. So I could also join the last separated hair to make it denser, but for performance reason I will leave it as it is. Now still in edit mode, I'll come over here and click Create Bones. In this pop-up menu, we have this option to switch between collision strand or collision mesh. So the collision strand is usually used for the hair, while collision mesh is typically used for clothes. So I will leave this set to collision strand. For this option below, I will leave this set to bone count, which allows me to control how many bones are created for each chain. Now below that, we have the parent bone, which is already set to head. Now I'll go ahead and click OK and wait for Simuquick to complete the process. Alright, now the bones have been created. To quickly preview the result, I'll press play and you can instantly see some movements in the bones. Now the first thing I'll do is select the hair, then come over to collide distance and then reduce it gradually to have the hair relaxed on the character. Now to preview the simulation with an animation, I'll go back to the Animixer tab. In the Action tab, okay, I need to first select the rig, then assign the dance animation to it, return to frame 1, zoom out and preview the results. Okay, now you can see the hair animation looks okay. I will not go into details on the different options here in the Animixer tab. You can refer to the video in the description or at the end of this video where I cover Simuquick for clothes in more detail. So that is one example. Now we're going to try another hair to demonstrate how the simulation works on a different type of hair. I will select the rig, unassign the animation, reset the rig, and return to frame 1. Now to use a different hair, I'll select this hair, then in the Simuquick tab, click Clear Bones to remove all the bone chains. Then I'll hide the hair in the outliner and also hide the scalp. Okay, now I'll go ahead and import the second figure with the different hair by expanding the main tab, clicking import and loading the file. With that loaded, I'll move it to the side, select the new hair, hold down shift and select the rig, and in the Simuquick panel, click transfer cloth. Now I'll select this armature, go to the outliner, right click the armature we just imported and select delete hierarchy. I will select the hair and switch to edit mode. So you can see this hair does not have a scalp and is not too dense, so I can start marking the edges. I will speed up this part. Okay, with all the markings done, I will return to global view, then click the create bones button. In the pop-up menu, I'll set the bone count to 9 or higher. You can go up to 20 depending on what you need. In this case, I will leave it at 14 and then click OK. Right, so with that done, I will assign the animation and then preview the results. Alright, that brings us to the end of this lesson. I hope you found the features helpful and the video useful. If you did, please consider liking the video, sharing it with your community, and feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your time. I'll see you next time.